You're being hunted. Right now, someone in your life knows exactly which buttons to push. They know how to make you say yes when you want to say no. They figured out your weak spots. You taught them how to do it. But by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to become unreadable to anyone trying to manipulate you. You'll learn the 2-second mental shift that makes you immune to guilt trips, the specific words that stop manipulators in their tracks, and why your silence, not your explanations, is your most powerful weapon. Every time you explained yourself when you should have stayed quiet. Every time you gave in when you should have stood firm. Every time you showed all your cards to people who were hiding theirs. You weren't being real. You were being prey. This isn't about becoming manipulative. It's about becoming unmanipulatable. And once you understand what I'm about to show you, no one will ever be able to use your kindness against you again. 500 years ago, a broken man learned why good people always lose. His name was Machiavelli, and he discovered something that will save your life. You can't survive being weak in a world full of people who want to use you. The stakes couldn't be higher. Every day you remain predictable is another day someone is studying your patterns, preparing to use your own goodness against you. You know that sick feeling when you realize you're not the main character in your own life? It happens in the meeting where someone steals your idea with confidence you'll never have. When your partner ignores your feelings because they know you'll apologize first. When that friend only calls needing something but disappears when you need help. You're living around people who steal your energy, and you keep making it easy for them. But the pain goes deeper. It's the slow erasure of yourself. The gradual realization that you've become a supporting character in everyone else's story. Here's what Machiavelli observed. People will take exactly as much as you allow them to take. Not what's fair, not what's right. Exactly what you permit through your responses. Think about the last time someone manipulated you, the sneaky way. Remember that special voice that makes your chest tight? How they reminded you of everything they did for you right before asking for what they wanted? Here's what happened. They tested your boundaries like a pickpocket tests a back pocket. Light pressure first. If you didn't resist, they pressed harder. They watched your face for micro-expressions. They listened for hesitation. They cataloged your tells like a poker player studies opponents. You trust first, they calculate first. Here's the philosophical truth that changes everything. Your predictability isn't authenticity. It's vulnerability without wisdom. You've confused being open with being defenseless. You've mistaken consistency for integrity. You've believed that showing your hand demonstrates honesty, when really it just makes you easy to beat. When everyone else is playing chess, refusing to learn the rules isn't noble. It's naive. And naivety, while innocent, is expensive. It costs you opportunities, relationships, respect, and ultimately, yourself. Drop a fire emoji if you felt that one. Niccolò Machiavelli wasn't born cynical. He was an idealist who got his heart broken by reality. In 1498, at 29, he got a prestigious position in Florence. He believed in truth and fairness, always leading with honesty, assuming others would match his integrity. For 14 years, he served faithfully. Then political winds shifted, and his honesty became his downfall. The very transparency he thought was his strength became the weapon his enemies used against him. But exile gave him clarity. Sitting in his broken farmhouse, stripped of everything, Machiavelli realized he didn't lose because he was incompetent. He lost because people could predict exactly what he would do. His enemies knew he would tell the truth when lying would serve him better. They knew he would honor agreements when others were breaking them. His virtue had become his vulnerability. While he was trying to be good, everyone else was trying to win. And winning doesn't care about your intentions, only your effectiveness. So he began studying those who actually succeeded. What he discovered became the foundation of all strategic thinking. The most successful people weren't the nicest. They were the most adaptable. They had developed what Machiavelli called the flexibility of response, the ability to meet each situation with what it actually required, not what they wished it required. This is where the lion and fox wisdom was born. The lion represents strength and directness, the ability to be firm when necessary. But lions are terrible at recognizing traps. They charge straight ahead, noble and predictable, missing the subtle snares cleverer enemies set. The fox represents cunning and observation, the ability to see manipulation before it hooks you, to navigate complex social terrain. But foxes lack the power to fight when cornered. Therefore, Machiavelli wrote, "You must be a fox to discover the snares, and a lion to terrify the wolves." This wasn't about becoming deceptive. This was about becoming complete, developing the full range of human responses instead of limiting yourself to one mode of being. Here's the first practical insight. When someone tries to manipulate you, they're counting on you to be predictably good. They expect you to be the same person in every situation, always accommodating, always explaining, always prioritizing their comfort over your clarity. What if, the moment you felt that familiar chest tightness, that signal someone was testing your boundaries, you paused for 2 seconds and asked yourself, what would serve me here, the lion or the fox? That's your 2-second mental shift. Not a technique to memorize, but a philosophical reframe that asks, what does this specific situation actually require from me? Here's what Machiavelli observed about people who consistently win. They understand that every interaction has undercurrents most people ignore. While you've been focused on being good, they've been focused on being effective. And effectiveness requires reading what's actually happening, not what you wish was happening. Let me show you the 3 patterns Machiavelli identified. What he called the masks people wear to get what they want. The demander operates through emotional leverage. They've studied your guilt triggers with scientific precision. When they want something, they don't just ask. They create emotional debt. They remind you of past favors, highlight their sacrifices, emphasize how much they need you. Machiavelli's observation: demanders succeed because most people fear conflict more than exploitation. But here's what he also noticed. Demanders collapse the moment they encounter someone who doesn't fear their disapproval. They're tigers made of paper, all roar, no substance. When a demander approaches with emotional leverage, you have 2 choices. The lion response: I understand you're disappointed. This is still my decision. Director: clear. No negotiation available. The fox response: complete silence. Let them fill the quiet with their agenda. Silence forces people to reveal their true intentions. The mimic reflects whatever you want to see, but only when it serves them. They become your perfect friend when you have something they need, your ideal supporter when they want your influence. Machiavelli's insight: they're powerful because they exploit your fundamental desire to be understood. Their weakness is that they have no center. They're always performing, always becoming what they think you want. When a mimic tries to bond with you, the fox sees through it immediately. You don't need to expose them. You just don't invest emotionally in their performance. The savior controls through rescue. They create problems they can solve, crises they can manage, dependencies they can fulfill. They position themselves as indispensable by ensuring you believe you can't handle life without them. Machiavelli's understanding: they need you to stay weak so they can stay necessary. When a savior offers unwanted help, the lion simply says, "I appreciate the offer, but I'm handling this myself." Here's the key insight. These aren't scripts to memorize. They're positions of consciousness to embody. The lion asks, "What do I actually want here?" Not what would be polite or avoid conflict, but what do I actually want? The fox asks, "What is this person actually doing?" Not what they're claiming, but what are they actually doing? You don't have to choose between being good and being powerful. You choose between being unconscious and being aware. Consciousness doesn't make you cruel, it makes you discerning. Wisdom isn't the opposite of goodness. It's goodness that has learned to protect itself. Let me ask you something that will cut to the bone. Who in your life gets angry when you stop explaining yourself? Not confused or disappointed, angry. When you simply state a decision without justification, who treats that as a personal offense? Who demands to know your reasoning? Those people reveal something profound about how they see your relationship. Machiavelli observed that people who demand explanations often aren't seeking understanding, they're seeking ammunition. They want your reasoning so they can debate it, dismantle it, or use it against you later. But here's what he also understood. Your reasons belong to you. Your explanations are gifts, not obligations. You taught them that they could use you. Every time you said yes when you wanted to say no, you trained them to expect self-abandonment. Every time you explained your boundaries instead of enforcing them, you taught them that your limits were negotiable. You did this because you thought it made you a good person. You thought extensive explanation demonstrated honesty. You thought constant availability showed love. But Machiavelli would see something else. A person who confused self-sacrifice with virtue. Here's the philosophical shift that changes everything. Your availability is not love. Your explanations are not honesty. Your self-sacrifice is not nobility. Love requires boundaries because love without limits becomes enabling. Honesty requires discretion because some truths aren't owed to everyone. Nobility requires self-respect because you can't give others what you don't possess yourself. Look at your relationships. In how many are you the one who gives more than you receive? In how many are you auditioning for love instead of simply receiving it? Now ask yourself, what would happen if you simply stopped explaining? What if you trusted people to handle your decisions without your justification? The people who truly respect you would adapt. But the others? They'd reveal exactly what they think they're entitled to from you. This is why your silence, not your explanations, is your most powerful weapon. Explanations give people something to argue with. Silence gives them nothing to grab onto. When someone demands to know why you made a decision and you simply say, "Because I chose to," you're not being rude. You're being philosophically complete. You're saying, "I am the author of my own choices. I don't need external validation for my internal decisions." Machiavelli understood that the most powerful position is the one that requires no justification from others. True power rests in itself. It doesn't need external validation because it's grounded in clear self-knowledge. This doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you sovereign. There's a profound difference between arrogance, which needs to prove superiority, and sovereignty, which simply knows its worth. Remember that person from the beginning? The one who had mapped your emotional landscape like a strategist studies terrain. They're about to meet someone completely different. When you embody the lion and fox, you don't become manipulative. You become unmanipulatable. You don't become cruel. You become discerning. You don't become closed off. You become selective about where you invest your energy. You didn't just heal. You developed wisdom. Here's what Machiavelli knew that most people never learn. The goal isn't to win every interaction. It's to remain yourself in every interaction. The 2-second pause isn't a technique. It's a return to your center. It's asking, what does this situation require from me? The specific words aren't scripts. They're expressions of philosophical clarity. They're ways of saying, I am not available for manipulation. Your silence isn't a weapon. It's a sanctuary. It's the recognition that not every question deserves an answer. Not every demand requires a response. Not every emotional hook needs to catch you. The people who truly belong in your life will respect this evolution. They'll understand that a boundaried version of you is a sustainable version of you. But the others, the ones comfortable with your self-abandonment, they'll try to guilt you back into old patterns. They'll tell you that you've changed, that you're becoming selfish or cold. And you'll smile, because you'll finally understand what they're really saying. You're no longer available for exploitation, and I don't know how to relate to you as an equal. You are not responsible for other people's comfort with your evolution. If you're ready to stop being prey in a world full of predators, type "I choose myself" in the comments below. Your future self, the one who learned to be both strong and wise, is waiting for you to make this choice. Machiavelli's complete philosophy goes far deeper than what we've covered today. If you're ready to learn not just how to protect yourself, but how to position yourself strategically in every area of life, then subscribe to this channel. Because next week, we're exploring Machiavelli's most sophisticated insight, the art of strategic vulnerability, how the most powerful people use apparent weakness as their greatest strength. You'll discover when to reveal and when to conceal, when to be direct and when to be indirect, when to engage and when to withdraw. Most importantly, you'll learn how to use your own vulnerability as a source of power rather than a target for exploitation. The people who've been using your predictability against you think they know who you are. They're about to discover they were studying someone who no longer exists. Subscribe now, because your education in real power starts here. 500 years ago, a broken idealist discovered that the world operates on principles most people refuse to acknowledge. It had always been a stage where some people perform authenticity while others practice strategy. The difference? One approach leads to influence. The other leads to exploitation. Machiavelli's gift wasn't teaching manipulation, it was teaching clarity. He showed us that refusing to see the game doesn't make you pure. It makes you prey. The lion and fox aren't masks you wear to deceive others. They're aspects of yourself you've been taught to suppress, your natural strength and innate wisdom. You were born with both the lion's courage and the fox's intelligence. Society trained you to suppress one or both, to choose between being kind and being strong. But Machiavelli understood what ancient wisdom has always known. Wholeness requires integration. In a world where everyone else understands power, your commitment to unconscious goodness isn't virtue. It's self-destruction. But now you see clearly, and seeing changes everything. Let them wonder why you're no longer predictable. Let them puzzle over why their old approaches don't work. Let them try to figure out who you're becoming. The mystery of your transformation belongs to you alone. Your silence was never emptiness. It was sovereignty waiting to be claimed. And sovereignty, once claimed, is never surrendered. You are no longer prey. You are no longer available for exploitation by people who mistake your kindness for weakness. You have become free